Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well, and if you didn't know, in the Garden of Eyes Overhaul mod for Elden Ring, we are creating new variations of enemies and bosses called Elden variants. And the idea of them is that we are revamping completely the boss fight. So for example, we have completely changed Radahn's fight by adding a completely new phase. We created a new variation of Melania that proves a very big and very nice challenge to players. And today's video is about the third boss of this variant, which is Maliketh the Black Blade. All of these bosses can now be accessed in the Garden of Eyes Overhaul mod by going to the new roundtable hold and going to the Hall of Elden Champion. So Maliketh is the kind of boss fight that you have to be very careful about trying to make harder, as the core fight is already very well designed around a rather specific playstyle. For us to try and touch upon this boss, we looked both at popular consensus and at higher tier play for pointers, and this is what we landed upon. The largest decision we had to make was cutting phase 1 out of this version of the fight. Phase 1 is not completely gone, but it will be given the attention it deserves separately and adjusted at its own boss fight rather than a glorified run back to Maliketh. In giving him the full health bar, we also wanted to increase his health and poise so as to prevent the boss from being as susceptible to stagger lock strats such as Cragblade. From 80 poise, which could be bested by 2 charged heavy attacks and a regular one from a plethora of weapons, to 120 poise. In this way, he is still staggerable, but the player will have to put in some extra work on that front. The core design we wanted to implement was reducing the amount of aerial time he enjoys. Vanilla Maliketh has 2 different triple aerial combos that are completely unpunishable, and to avoid that we created combo points provided the player gets close enough at much earlier spots in the animation, effectively creating new and completely unexpected follow-ups to the aerial projectile attacks. We have also attempted to repurpose a few of his unused animations, such as his diagonal ground stab from a pillar or his triple ground slam, which has been thoroughly segmented in order to allow for as much as modularity as possible. Likewise, his regular vertical ground stab from a pillar will now combo into his sword standing stance, which will further allow him to enter the new combos we've designed for him, all converging on the aerial spin attack which we've appended in order to create the scariest situations possible. To add to this, we have taken the retreating low swipe attack Maliketh regularly does and, taking a cue from some very knowledgeable Maliketh players out there, added it to a follow-up attack that creates a larger punish window and allows for more display of skill than ever. This attack can dynamically shift between its long range and short range counterparts based on player positioning, and while the long range version is harder to punish, the short range one allows for a multitude of dodges in increasing levels of difficulty. From rolling out to prevent getting hit entirely but missing out on a punish, to rolling in twice to avoid the AoE, to rolling in once in the perfect area so you blind spot the ensuing explosion, to jump attacking over the initial AoE into the blind spot. These are all there for players to experiment with at their leisure. A very important tenet for us has always been clarity, and once again, at the advice of experts, we have added an effect to mark the center of the Destined Death flurry before it goes off, merely to prevent getting surprised by any wall shenanigans that might offset its AoE further back towards Maliketh, but also because Destined Death can now happen out of a lot more moves. We haven't decreased its internal cooldown, but we have gone to great lengths to ensure it has more avenues to make itself known. Another new but rare attack is the Claw Ground Swipe Gap Closer that Maliketh can now use at mid-range in order to surprise the player with a very swift motion. And for the largest and most innovative change yet, we have re-allowed Maliketh to use all 8 pillars in the arena. Naturally, we had to account for this in some way in order to prevent him from never coming down, so we have toyed around with that specific attack and its activation conditions. Not only that, but in rare instances you will see Maliketh jumping from one pillar to another in a truly mesmerizing acrobatic display. It can be very fun just watching him jump around sometimes. Overall, Maliketh is a very intriguing boss fight and a very enjoyable challenge, and we believe we have created a very fun experience for both new and veteran players of this game alike to try and best him. All of this and all of the other bosses, weapons, armors and mechanics are available right now in the early access for the Garden of Eyes mod Overhaul, which you can access right now by subscribing to our Patreon, so make sure to check that out and support us. All of your help really supports the development of the mod and supports the mod team behind it, and we really appreciate all of your support. We would have never reached this point in the development if it wasn't for you guys' support, so we really appreciate that, and make sure to check out our other content and the Patreon description, and we'll be seeing you later. Bye bye.